You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Makovic. Here's a look at some of our news headlines this morning. The mayor of New York City says the mass shooter behind yesterday's deadly rampage meant to target the NFL headquarters. 4 people were killed in a high-rise office building in Midtown Manhattan, including this police officer. Police identified the killer as 27-year-old Shane Tamura, you see here, of Las Vegas. They say they found a note on him claiming that he suffered from CTE.
He appeared to have blamed the NFL for his injury. From our preliminary investigation, he took the wrong elevator bank up to the NFL headquarters. Instead, it took him to Rudin Management, and that is where he carried out additional shootings.
Police say the gunman also killed a security officer, an employee at investment firm Blackstone, and a woman in the lobby before he killed himself.
I came out 5 minutes later. One of my coworkers came out, and he said he saw 2 people get shot.
The building personnel said, stay in place. There's an active shooter. Don't leave. Get away from the windows. Your adrenaline rushes, and, it's pretty scary.
According to law enforcement sources in Nevada, Tamura has a history of mental health issues and had been committed several times. Police believe this was a lone wolf attack, but the NFL says it is stepping up security. Police in Reno still searching for a motive in yesterday's deadly shooting at a casino. A gunman opened fire outside the Grand Sierra Resort, killing 3 people and injuring 3 others. The gunman took a bullet from police and was taken into custody and transported to the hospital. 2 of the injured victims remain in critical condition. The 3rd has been released from the hospital. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie signing new legislation into law marking a new citywide parking limit on oversized vehicles.
It combines compassion with accountability. It creates a clear path to housing, and it gives our city the tools to clean up neighborhoods and improve the quality of life for all San Franciscans.
RVs will now need to move every 2 hours rather than being allowed to park overnight. This is expected to impact at least 400 recreational vehicles in the city that are right now homes for people who cannot afford rent. This new policy does allow some registered RVs to remain parked if they are engaging with city services. Critics argue the details of that program have not been fleshed out. Police in San Francisco say 3 girls, ages 11, 13, and 14, are tied to a string of violent attacks. Officers say the group assaulted at least 5 people this month, including 2 people in a weekend attack near 4th Street. Bystanders jumped in and stopped that attack. Police tracked the suspects using surveillance video and found them at a mall. They arrested the 13 and 14-year-old girls and released the 11-year-old to her parents. All right, let's get a check on our first alert forecast this Tuesday. Meteorologist Jessica Birch tells us another cool down is coming.
Well, it's another warm day in our inland spots with 90s returning in the forecast all the way over in Antioch, 60s along the coast. So we see a 30-degree temperature spread this afternoon between 2 of the extreme microclimates. However, the rest of us, anywhere from wine country down into the Santa Clara Valley, we're mostly holding on tight to a mixed bag of 70s and 80s, with the exception of San Francisco topping off this afternoon at 65 degrees. Partly cloudy skies along the coast into the evening hours tonight, but we'll see plenty of sunshine throughout our inland areas with all that nice warm weather. Now, as we head into this afternoon, there's a couple things that are going to change for us. We're already up to around a 20-mile-per-hour wind gust along the coastline, and into the evening hours tonight, just around dinner time, we could see up to around 30-mile-per-hour wind gust along the coast, with breezy conditions in our inland areas too. You'll notice that day by day as we head into the rest of this week's forecast. Earlier this morning, we had clouds holding on tight to most of the bay, but that cloud layer pulls back along the coast into the evening hours tonight. And we'll see the bay fill with fog once again as we wake up early tomorrow morning. And that sets us up for the next couple days. As we head into our inland forecast this week, we're nice and warm today. We cool down a bit more tomorrow with cloudy skies widespread throughout the Bay Area. And then we'll start to average out into the mid, even some upper 80s in the forecast into this weekend and early next week, with sunnier skies in the forecast too as early as next Monday. Now, where we really want to see that sunshine, of course, it's along the coast. We've been needing that sun, and as we head into next week, there's a good chance we could see it too, with mid-70s in the forecast along the bay by Monday. But for now, we're still holding on tight to a mixed bag of upper 60s and lower 70s heading into the next couple days, and that's the case too as we head into our Friday forecast. Back to you.
Some Bay Area hospice workers walked off the job today. Nurses, social workers, and counselors at Hospice East Bay say that caseloads and stalled contract talks have pushed them to strike. All this comes as an out-of-state chain prepares to take over for the nonprofit provider. They want better staffing and patient care protections before that handoff happens. Kevin Coe reports from the picket line in Pleasant Hill.
Hospice East Bay was founded in 1977. It's one of the Bay Area's oldest hospice providers, and workers here say the facility needs to catch up with the times. That's why they're on strike today as more changes loom for Hospice East Bay. The facility is set to be taken over by Chapters Health System, a national hospice chain based in Florida. Before it officially turns over, nurses, social workers, counselors are seeking a new union contract. They say negotiations haven't gone anywhere, with minimal pay increases and staff protections non-existent. Nurses describe a 50% increase in patient workloads, which they say does not allow for proper care.
It's more important than ever for workers and patients to have enshrined protections. Our working conditions are directly connected to what I can provide for my patients. I need staffing ratios to continue to provide the community high quality care. And so particularly in that national context is why we're on strike today, despite how hard it is for us to be here.
We also received a statement from Hospice East Bay's communications director, which reads in part, quote, "We remain committed to meeting these challenges in a way that honors our mission, strengthens our team, and continues our commitment to the care, safety, and dignity of our patients." Hospice officials also say a qualified team of clinicians are available to respond to any needs for the facility today. And the strike is actually set to wrap up by this afternoon. That's why, with negotiations still at a standstill, all of the reasons why workers are out here today will still be there when they return to work.
Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, more homes and businesses could become fully electric. How a Bay Area city is taking the next step in moving away from natural gas.
They want their energy bills to go down. They want to get ahead of the curve.
Plus, this Bay Area plaza could be turned into housing. How the planned development could force some businesses to shut down.
We don't have a mainstream grocery store. We don't have a pharmacy on this side of town.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Throughout the Bay Area today, we're gearing up for some warm weather in those inland spots. Upper 80s right around the corner this afternoon off into the East Bay, with a mixed bag of 70s and 80s from wine country all the way into the Santa Clara Valley too. Now we're starting to cool down as we head into the next couple days, back into the low 80s with cloudy skies tomorrow in those inland spots. But you make your way over into the coast, it's even cooler. Today we're in the 70s. We'll jump back down into the 60s by Wednesday with cloudy skies and a chance of drizzle along the coast, and then we'll slowly warm up as we dive into this weekend's forecast.
Police in Pleasanton say a report of possible animal abuse ended with a 71-year-old man shot at least 6 times. It happened in that man's home on Vineyard Avenue near Bernal Saturday afternoon. According to a witness statement, the suspect, Joshua Kaplan, went to the home to confront the man about the alleged dog abuse, and they say things escalated and Kaplan shot him.
The street is pretty busy with a lot of people walking and on bikes, and just like a lot of kids walking around too, so it's scary, like bullets flying around, someone can get hit.
The shooter is in custody, facing attempted murder charges. The man who was shot in the hospital in stable condition. Police removed the dog from the home. They told us it did not have any obvious signs of injury that required treatment. Several suspects are in custody after thieves targeted the Gucci store at the Livermore outlets. Here's a look at some video posted to TikTok. This happened at the popular shopping spot Sunday afternoon. You can see thieves grabbing anything they could before taking off in front of all those witnesses. Those thieves appear to have made their way to San Francisco after that. Last night, police spotted a car wanted in connection with the thefts. Inside the car, bags of merchandise from the Gucci store in Livermore. Officers say several people bailed from the car before they arrested them. San Francisco could be taking another step away from natural gas and toward all-electric homes and businesses. The city has a goal of reaching net zero emissions by the year 2040. And so far, it's been focused on banning natural gas in new construction to make it happen. But a new proposal would expand on that to include homes and businesses going through major renovations. Our Kara St. Cyr tagged along with the contractor who's already seeing more homeowners willing to make the switch to electric.
Hello? Hey, Garen?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Justin with Ace.
Hey, it's cool.
I just want to call, let you know I'm on my way.
Justin Spillman is seeing San Francisco's push for fewer gas appliances in real time.
So they want a quote on replacing their existing gas water heater.
He's a contractor with Ace Plumbing in Rooter. He's getting more calls about converting gas heaters to electric ones.
They want their energy bills to go down. They want to get ahead of the curve when it comes to the changes that are happening in the emissions goals of the city.
Back in 2020, San Francisco adopted an ordinance that bans natural gas in new builds, an effort to reduce greenhouse emissions. Now the city wants to update the ordinance to include large-scale renovations, meaning people like Justin's client, Garen Checkley.
Hey, Garen.
Hi.
Justin.
Who are remodeling homes and businesses.
So the water heater's in here?
Would have to convert to electricity for heating and cooling, water heating, and cooking.
I mean, we know that we over time want to electrify our house for environmental and climate reasons, for health and safety reasons. It's especially true for the gas stove that we have inside. We've been reading all the studies.
The amendment would apply to wall and ceiling renovations and remodels covering 2/3 of the building.
There's a lot of reason to get natural gas out of our buildings.
Board of Supervisors President Raphael Mandelman, who's behind the push, says this next step is necessary for a greener San Francisco.
We can't say that every conversion of a building is or every major retrofit is going to involve that building going all electric, but it's pushing in that direction.
Back at the House, Garen says the only drawback to the amendment is the price tag. Even with state and federal rebates, Garen says he'll pay thousands for this update.
I'm a supporter of the efforts to electrify our city. What I would also like to see is state and city changes that make it more efficient and cheaper.
But for now, both Garen and Justin are content to get going on this change.
Well, Berkeley was the first city in the country to pass an all-electric requirement in new buildings back in 2019, but it repealed its natural gas ban last year after the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled it was preempted by federal law that sets standards for most gas appliances. San Francisco amended its all-electric requirement for new construction to include an exemption for those appliances that are covered under the Energy Policy and Conversion Act. That also applies to the new proposal for major renovations. There are also exemptions for affordable housing and buildings with an area for commercial food services. A plan to build much-needed housing in the South Bay now facing pushback from people in the community. Max Darrow spoke with a longtime Sunnyvale resident about why she's not happy with the planned development.
Throughout her entire life,
during the summer, we would walk up here to the grocery store and get a snack.
Fair Oaks Plaza has been a cornerstone of Deanna Gonzalez's North Sunnyvale neighborhood. It's home to several restaurants, businesses, and the only grocery store in the neighborhood, Taj Mahal Fresh Market.
It's changed quite a lot.
But perhaps the biggest change is on the horizon, and it's one Gonzalez hopes doesn't come to pass.
The plan right now stands as it's housing with very small retail left.
A development proposal is pending to turn the plaza primarily into housing, which would eliminate most of the businesses here today, including the grocery store.
Many of our neighbors walk to this market because they have no other means of getting around.
Sunnyvale has designated Fair Oaks Plaza as one of 7 village centers, places that will be redeveloped into hubs for housing, retail, and outdoor space.
We envision the village centers as multi-use nodes within our city.
Larry Klein is the mayor of Sunnyvale.
We, envisioned kind of what we see in downtown. Retail on the bottom with multifamily housing above. The majority of developers that we have in our community right now are building townhomes.
City leaders recently approved the Village Center Master Plan to redefine zoning for the existing spaces to help better preserve commercial space as they are redeveloped.
To try to say this is where housing and mixed use would be. Here are areas that are retail specific.
But that's for future proposals, not previously filed ones. City leaders say because of state housing laws, they can't change plans in motion.
The residents in those communities, their best efforts are to talk to the developers, and that's what we're doing from a city standpoint, looking to see what incentives that we can provide to change the vision of that original application.
We're not against the housing. We want to see growth, but we also know that there are lots of different parts of Sunnyvale that can be developed into housing.
Gonzalez says Sunnyvale's future does need to include more housing, but she believes the plan in motion will make the neighborhood less livable for current and future residents.
We don't have a mainstream grocery store. We don't have a pharmacy on this side of town.
Her hope:
we encourage not only the owner of the property and the developer to work with the city to reconsider their plan to include more retail.
A blend she thinks would better suit the neighborhood.
Well, we tried to get in touch with the developer to ask them some questions about the project, but did not hear back. Still ahead, we are hearing a firsthand account of the dangers on San Francisco streets.
A turning vehicle pushed me over with its side mirror, and that push how I was standing led to my right foot being broken.
How the city is trying to reduce the number of crashes by painting parts of the city red.
We're seeing sunny skies today. It's beautiful for wine country, East Bay, and for our friends near San Jose too. Now heading into the overnight hours tonight, those clouds fill the bay. We'll see misty conditions along the coast tomorrow morning. But before we even get there, we also have some windier conditions this afternoon too. Just around lunchtime, we're already up to around 25 to 30 mile per hour winds along the coast, and it only gets stronger into the evening hours tonight too. That's noticeable each day this week. Tranquil conditions in the overnight hours, but it's still breezy just around that 5, 6, 7 o'clock hour. Throughout the next 7 days, there's some other changes that I want to talk about too, and it has to do with daytime highs. Tomorrow, let's see if this will reload. There we go. Tomorrow, we're jumping down to the low 80s in our inland spots. As those clouds roll in from offshore, low pressure starts to approach us. We can see misty conditions along the coast, and we'll see our inland areas drop to the low 80s. And then we start to average out into the mid 80s, diving into the rest of this week with cloudy skies each day this weekend. And by next week, we'll see sunnier conditions around the corner. You make your way over into the Bay, places like San Francisco, Oakland, Daly City, Berkeley, for example, we're all sitting in the upper 60s and lower 70s each day. We'll have more on that coming up in a bit.
In San Francisco, city leaders and community members are marking the start of a long-awaited plan to try to protect pedestrians. Curbs around the city are being painted red to comply with the state's daylighting law. Under the new law, it is illegal to park within 20 feet of a crosswalk. This all comes after the city saw the most traffic-related deaths in 2 decades last year. Our Lauren Tom spoke with a neighbor who's celebrating the change after seeing firsthand how dangerous the streets can be for pedestrians.
Before these curbs get painted bright red with an SFMTA logo, they were a potentially dangerous blind spot, blocking a driver's view of an oncoming pedestrian. Now a new state law is trying to change that 20 feet at a time. John Lowell says it could be a life-saving shift.
It makes me passionate to help prevent any pedestrian collision in the city from occurring.
John knows the dangers firsthand. He's been struck by a car in San Francisco not once, but twice. The first time was back in 2001, which left him with serious injuries. The second just weeks ago.
A turning vehicle pushed me over with its side mirror, and that push how I was standing led to my right foot being broken.
Now on crutches and recovering, John isn't sitting still. Instead, he's taking action. A brush in hand, he's among the first to help paint approaching curbs on the right side of the road red in the Nopa neighborhood. It's part of California's daylighting law, which bans parking within 20 feet of crosswalks as of the first of the year. San Francisco delayed enforcement of the law until all curbs could be painted. Drivers have been getting warnings until now. Walk SF's Marta Lindsay says the restricted zones will create more visibility for oncoming drivers and pedestrians.
The data on this is incredible. Daylighting reduces crashes by up to about 30%. So that's 1 in 3 fewer crashes on our street, which we know is so important right now, especially as we face just such dangerous streets.
The change comes after San Francisco saw its deadliest year in decades for pedestrians in 2024, with 42 people killed on city streets. And this year, 9 pedestrians have been killed. SFMTA's Victoria Wise says this is just one solution underway to make streets more predictable for all who use them.
And we're focused on the kids first, doing that before school starts, and then going wider out from that. But daylighting been part of our bread and butter work and part of our safety work for quite a long time.
Thousands of intersections across the city will see the change, which is expected to be completed by the end of next year. The policy, costing the city about $3.6 million, is expected to eliminate about 5% of the city's parking spaces, equal to roughly 13,000 spaces, according to the latest city data. And for John, each new curb marks an opportunity for a more protected city.
My hope for the future is it becomes safer for all who live, work, and visit San Francisco.
Parking along one of the red curbs could come with a ticket up to $108 once enforcement starts. But again, the painting is expected to be finished by the end of 2026. Meantime, a major corridor in San Francisco's Sunset neighborhood is getting a facelift, a $1.5 million investment from the city and the state, upgrading the green belt on both sides of the 2-mile Sunset Boulevard that connects Lake Merced to Golden Gate Park. Supervisor Joel Ingardio says he wants to imagine it as a, quote, emerald necklace, a continuous loop between the natural beauties of San Francisco.
Investing in Sunset Boulevard will pay dividends for San Francisco. As this space becomes more green and beautiful, it will attract more visitors to explore, exercise, recreate, and volunteer on the Emerald Necklace.
Funding from the state will go toward a recycled water project. The city funding will pay for maintenance along Sunset Boulevard. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, a picturesque town has an urgent need for affordable housing. Why a plan to transform old Coast Guard property has been so slow to get off the ground.
The people who work there, the people who keep the community going, are not able to live there.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Tuesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. The mayor of New York City says the mass shooter behind yesterday's deadly rampage meant to target the NFL headquarters. 4 people were killed in a high-rise office building in Midtown Manhattan, including police officer Didarul Islam. Police identified the killer as 27-year-old Shane Tamura of Las Vegas. Authorities say they found a note on him claiming that he suffered from CTE and then blamed the NFL for his injury. He never played for the NFL. Mayor Eric Adams says the gunman meant to go to the NFL offices but took the wrong elevator. Police believe this was a lone wolf attack, but the NFL says it is stepping up security. The crackdown on RV parking in San Francisco has just been made official. Mayor Daniel Lurie signed the new law this morning. RVs will now need to move every 2 hours rather than being allowed to park on city streets overnight. This is expected to impact at least 400 RVs in the city that right now are homes for people who cannot afford rent. Nurses, social workers, and counselors at Hospice East Bay walked off the job today, saying caseloads and stalled contract talks pushed them to strike. The facility is set to be taken over by Chapters Health System. That is a national hospice chain that's based in Florida. Workers are seeking a new union contract before that happens. They say negotiations haven't gone anywhere with minimal pay increases and staff protections. Hospice East Bay says they remain committed to meeting those challenges. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast. Here is meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, it's another warm day in our inland spots with 90s returning in the forecast all the way over into Antioch, 60s along the coast. So we see a 30-degree temperature spread this afternoon between two of the extreme microclimates. However, the rest of us, anywhere from wine country down into the Santa Clara Valley, we're mostly holding on tight to a mixed bag of 70s and 80s, with the exception of San Francisco topping off this afternoon at 65 degrees. Partly cloudy skies along the coast into the evening hours tonight, but we'll see plenty of sunshine throughout our inland areas with all that nice warm weather. Now, as we head into this afternoon, there's a couple things that are going to change for us. We're already up to around a 20-mile-per-hour wind gust along the coastline, and into the evening hours tonight, just around dinner time, we could see up to around 30-mile-per-hour wind gust along the coast, with breezy conditions in our inland areas too. You'll notice that day by day as we head into the rest of this week's forecast. Earlier this morning, we had clouds holding on tight to most of the bay, but that cloud layer pulls back along the coast into the evening hours tonight. And we'll see the bay fill with fog once again as we wake up early tomorrow morning. And that sets us up for the next couple days. As we head into our inland forecast this week, we're nice and warm today. We cool down a bit more tomorrow with cloudy skies widespread throughout the Bay Area. And then we'll start to average out into the mid, even some upper 80s in the forecast into this weekend and early next week, with sunnier skies in the forecast too as early as next Monday. Now, where there's a good chance we could see it too, with mid-70s in the forecast along the bay by Monday. But for now, we're still holding on tight to a mixed bag of upper 60s and lower 70s heading into the next couple days, and that's the case too as we head into our Friday forecast. Back to you.
Thanks, Jess. More now on that deadly shooting rampage in New York City. Investigators are looking into whether the suspect targeted the high-rise because it houses the NFL's headquarters. 4 people, including a New York City police officer, were gunned down. Bradley Blackburn is at the scene in Manhattan.
Investigators are searching for a motive in the deadly shooting at a Manhattan office building that left 4 victims dead, including a police officer. New York Mayor Eric Adams says a note was found with the shooter, identified as 27-year-old Shane Tamura of Las Vegas.
The note alluded to that he felt he had CTE, a known brain injury for those who participate in contact sports. He appeared to have blamed the NFL for his injury.
Adams told CBS Mornings the preliminary investigation shows the gunman meant to go to the NFL offices but took the wrong elevator.
The building personnel said, stay in place. There's an active shooter. Don't leave. Get away from the windows.
Among the victims of Monday night's attack is NYPD officer Didarul Islam, who was shot and killed in the lobby. The 36-year-old immigrant from Bangladesh joined the force 3.5 years ago.
He was saving lives. He was protecting New Yorkers.
Police say the gunman also killed a security officer and a woman in the lobby. He then took the elevator to the 33rd floor where the shooting continued.
1 person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest.
Investigators say the suspect drove himself from Las Vegas all the way to New York City, where he parked directly in front of this 44-story office building and then walked into the lobby with a high-powered rifle.
According to our law enforcement partners in Las Vegas, Mr. Tamura has a documented mental health history.
Investigators say the shooter was carrying a concealed firearms permit.
According to senior law enforcement sources in Nevada, the suspect was licensed as an unarmed security guard, but that license had expired. The source also said that he had been committed several times over the last couple of years for mental health holds. Protesters calling for the city of Oakland to stop a homeless sweep scheduled for next week and offer residents long-term housing. Those living at Sycamore Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Way in West Oakland held a rally yesterday. They say they've been displaced 7 times since last September and that they have nowhere to go.
I've been around for almost a year now and I've been moved several times. I really don't think that we should have to keep packing up and moving because they're not really giving us a solution.
In a statement, the city says it will continue outreach efforts up until the encampment closure. So far, 4 people living at the site have accepted offers for interim housing. Housing advocates often say the solution to homelessness is to build more homes, but that's not an easy task in some of the Bay Area's smaller, more rural communities, particularly in the picturesque town of Point Reyes Station in West Marin County. That is where there is an urgent need for housing, but plans to transform old Coast Guard property have been slow to get off the ground. John Ramos shows how it's highlighting a larger problem.
In Point Reyes, the opportunities for affordable housing are few and far between. So there's a lot of excitement about the prospect of this old Coast Guard housing being made available soon. But just because the need is urgent doesn't mean the system is working quickly to make it happen. There are no high-rise affordable housing complexes in Point Reyes, and no one is stepping forward to build one.
But the fact is that the people who work there, the people who keep the community going, are not able to live there. And so we're talking about a much smaller number of units, but we really need to get units in these locations.
Sarah Jones is the Community Development Director for Marin County. In March, supervisors declared a housing emergency for the area.
We have known that there is a need for affordable housing in this area for a long time, but the urgency, the focus on it has increased significantly over the past year.
That's because next year a lawsuit settlement will kick in, closing the cattle ranches and turning about 100 workers out onto the streets. The workers and their advocates appealed to the board for help, and among them was Mark Switzer, for whom it was a matter of conscience.
I am a landowner, and I have been an entitled, complacent resident of Point Reyes Station. I'm ashamed and appalled.
But no one from the landed gentry was there to say, I've been so goddamn, so complacent about this. And that's the truth. Is it, we live here, the sun shines, all's good, but it's not.
There is actually good news for Point Reyes. This former Coast Guard housing has just cleared a regulatory hurdle to be turned into affordable housing. But there hasn't been a lot of urgency in the process. The county purchased the land from the federal government clear back in 2018, but so far nothing has been built or renovated. The problem is the complex has no septic system for wastewater. That and other problems have made progress on the project slow going.
Well, I think that sense of the community is frustration and confusion of why it's so difficult.
Yeah, certainly moving along slowly, wouldn't you say?
Or not at all.
Or not at all. I mean, we see no change down here.
The fact is, nobody is doing anything wrong here. The county and its partners are following the rules, all of them well-intended, and all of them acting as a roadblock to getting anything done.
Whether it's asbestos or lead paint or whatever it was.
But do you think those things matter to someone who's out on the street, living in a tent?
They don't. You're right. They don't. The layers of complications, regulations, you can rationalize any one of them, but we're not prepared to say, this has got to change. We've got to make this work. We have to start over in our thinking.
This piece about affordable housing has been neglected for far too long there, by all of us together. And there is very shared understanding how important this is to address.
Everyone agrees that it's taken too long, just as they agree about the severity of the problem. But so far, the process has been by the book, rather than as a matter of conscience.
Now that the project has been cleared of environmental impacts, it can begin the funding process, which the county says is the most difficult hurdle to overcome. Coming up next, it is an eye in the sky, tracking Earth's every move. How this mission could change the way we monitor our planet.
I think all the data for surface change, whether it's used for climate understanding or disaster response or helping our farmers, it's all going to be useful.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
The Bay Area today, we're gearing up for some warm weather in those inland spots. Upper 80s right around the corner this afternoon off into the East Bay with a mixed bag of 70s and 80s from wine country all the way into the Santa Clara Valley too. Now we're starting to cool down as we head into the next couple days, back into the low 80s with cloudy skies tomorrow in those inland spots. But you make your way over into the coast, it's even cooler. Today we're in the 70s. We'll jump back down into the 60s by Wednesday with cloudy skies and a chance of drizzle along the coast, and then we'll slowly warm up as we dive into this weekend's forecast.
Well, the pads have come on for the 49ers training camp just 11 days until their first preseason game at Levi's Stadium. And off the field, Brock Purdy is celebrating a new addition. Purdy and his wife Jenna welcomed their baby girl, Millie Jolene, last week. The couple shared the news on Instagram, and our Vern Glenn caught up with Purdy to talk about life as a new father.
I feel like I'm more cautious with things and doors and hallways. Like when we're holding our baby, it's just like you're now thinking about this baby and protecting it all the time. So, and driving safely, all the things. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
This comes just a couple of weeks after Christian McCaffrey and his wife Olivia had their baby girl, Colette McCaffrey. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk congratulated both of the new dads.
The guys have matured an incredible amount in the last couple days. They both have terrible dad jokes. They've both gotten their dad's strength overnight, but just so happy for both of them and their families. They're going to be incredible fathers, and we're all just so excited for them.
And CBS News Bay Area is the home for Niners preseason football. We're counting down to that first preseason game when the Broncos come to Levi's on Saturday, August 9th. You can watch the game at 5:30 p.m. on KPIX and stream it on Paramount+. The Golden State Valkyries looking to bounce back today after a real tough loss to the Connecticut Sun on Sunday. The Valkyries heading to Atlanta to take on the Dream tonight. It is the second game of a 5-game road trip, and ahead of the game, the Valkyries announced Monique Billings is questionable to play because of a left ankle injury. The team is already without their star player, Kayla Thornton, because of an injury. You can watch the Golden State Valkyries take on the Atlanta Dream on KPIX and streaming on Paramount+. Our coverage starts at 4 p.m. It is a sophisticated eye on our planet. A satellite set to launch this week will allow scientists to observe changes to the Earth in more detail than ever before, from earthquakes to floods and even changes to farmland. The $1.5 billion satellite is a joint mission between NASA and India's space agency. Ryan Hackney shows us why it's so significant.
We may be trying to save the Earth.
This is the trace of the Hayward Fault.
The Earth isn't exactly trying to save us. It pays to keep an eye on the planet, and the NISAR satellite will be watching every move the Earth makes. Quite literally.
Jesus Christ, look at that.
Oh, I just felt an earthquake.
Volcanic deformation, tectonic plate motion, land subsidence, as you see here, and anything that's moving at the scale of a centimeter or so.
The satellite's radar that will do all this was assembled at JPL, where Wendy Edelstein is the deputy project manager for NISAR.
It uses a technique called radar interferometry. It can look for very small changes on the Earth's surface. It can penetrate through trees and get down to the bare Earth.
For instance, when water's pumped from underground aquifers, NISAR will be watching from an orbital altitude of 460 miles.
This animation is over the Central Valley of California, and we can see feet worth of subsidence due to groundwater withdrawal in this area.
It doesn't have one user. It has a whole variety of users.
I plan to use it to look at creep for sure, particularly in Northern California, the Bay Area.
Catherine Guns and her colleagues at USGS definitely need boots on the ground.
Let's go find the fault.
They'll also now have eyes in the sky with near real-time ground motion coverage.
This thing is not just taking a snapshot once every 5, 10, 20 years. This is in continuous operation, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's what's really most exciting to me as a scientist who uses this kind of data.
Thank you.
Every 12 days, we get a new picture. That'll allow us to assess what happens after earthquakes and before earthquakes, too, so we can see what's going on all the time.
And I don't want to put you on the spot, but the question has to be asked. NASA has been under some pressure not to be forthcoming with the release of climate data. Are we going to be able to see the data from NISAR?
Well, I focus on the science aspects of it, and I think all the data for surface change, whether it's used for climate understanding or disaster response or helping our farmers, it's all going to be useful.
It's also NASA's first collaboration on a satellite with India. And this is lifting off in India.
It's lifting off in Sriharikota, which is the east coast of southern India, on July 30th.
So keep an eye on that, because when it goes up, it'll certainly be keeping an eye on us.
Good show. Roger, I do have...
Well, the launch was supposed to happen last year, but that was postponed because of technical difficulties. It is now set to launch on Wednesday. Coming up, a professor at UC Berkeley shining a spotlight on the challenges of living with ADHD.
Things were sometimes really falling apart, and I didn't have as much support as I needed.
Now she's hoping to inspire others to overcome whatever challenges they may face.
You know that feeling when you pull into town and you feel like you're home?
We're seeing sunny skies today. It's beautiful for wine country, East Bay, and for our friends near San Jose too. Now heading into the overnight hours tonight, those clouds fill the bay. We'll see misty conditions along the coast tomorrow morning. But before we even get there, we also have some windier conditions this afternoon too. Just around lunchtime, we're already up to around 25 to 30 mile per hour winds along the coast, and it only gets stronger into the evening hours tonight too. That's noticeable each day this week. Tranquil conditions in the overnight hours, but it's still breezy just around that 5, 6, 7 o'clock hour. Throughout the next 7 days, there's some other changes that I want to talk about too, and it has to do with daytime highs. Tomorrow, let's see if this will reload. There we go. Tomorrow, we're jumping down to the low 80s in our inland spots. As those clouds roll in from offshore, low pressure starts to approach us. We can see misty conditions along the coast, and we'll see our inland areas drop to the low 80s. And then we start to average out into the mid 80s, diving into the rest of this week with cloudy skies each day this weekend. And by next week, we'll see sunnier conditions around the corner. You make your way over into the bay. Places like San Francisco, Sunnyvale, Oakland, Daly City, Berkeley, for example, we're all sitting in the upper 60s and lower 70s each day. We'll have more on that coming up in a bit. Ann?
Thanks, Jess. A one-woman show from a Bay Area professor is urging women of color to find their voices, no matter what challenges they face. Lorraine Ayub introduces us to Candace Johnson, who's hoping to share the experiences of women dealing with ADHD.
For Dr. Candace Johnson, every note tells a story. And as vocal instructor at Berkeley Music, she not only helps students find their voices, she is now sharing hers. Her autobiographical play at the Marsh Berkeley reflects her journey with ADHD.
I understand what it's like to be in a place where you are wondering, like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why can't I this? Why can't I that? And you just keep hitting a wall again and again. I know what it's like.
And her one-woman show aims to share those challenges with Bay Area audiences.
You're always late. You forget important dates.
As July marks Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, she is vulnerably sharing her own experiences and hopes to empower others to seek help if and when needed.
I wasn't the best at being organized when I was by myself, but with every layer of responsibility, job responsibilities, and then still trying my best to be an artist, things were sometimes really falling apart and I didn't have as much support as I needed.
Ain't nothing wrong with my brain.
Dr. Johnson, who was once resistant to medication, wants to encourage the public, especially cultural communities that struggle with mental health stigmas, to boldly reach for resources.
To help people know how much progress you can make, how much more success you can step into if you really are willing to do that hard work, take a look at yourself, get the assessment.
If maybe within that.
And Stephanie Wiseman, founder and artistic executive director of The Marsh, says she and her team are dedicated to supporting shows that speak to real-life community issues.
We give people the opportunity to use our resources and our space and have our shows that allow shows like Candace's that deal with important issues that become very important for people to hear about. Yes.
According to the Journal of the American Medical Association, Black women are significantly less likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than white women, despite similar symptoms.
I want people to see parts of themselves. I want them to see their family, their friends. I want them to reconsider what mental health really is about.
And according to Dr. Johnson, it's about finding and owning your truth, note by note.
Well, Candace's one-woman show runs at the Marsh in Berkeley until mid-September. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.